Why aren't every fighter in every division in big fights? What do you mean, BFTB? Let's talk.
Straighter, not a roundhouse right hand.
And that's what we've been talking about. The straight shot is the one where he gets leverage on it.
I don't want to kill
Pull
somebody
back
for
a little bit.
seconds.
Nah, I want a body on my record.
Now, I want to see you fight motherfuckers. I do. All right, I'm with you. I'm with you. As long as you're trying to fight the greats, the best competition.
Welcome to the graveyard. Click the link if you dare to. Bury you alive, I'm prepared to. Welcome to the graveyard. You get your sources from clowns, so when you come around, we don't hear you. Welcome to the graveyard. Click the link if you dare to. Bury you alive, I'm prepared to. Welcome to the graveyard. You get your sources from clowns, so when you come around, we don't hear you. Yo, it's the best, fight the best. If you ain't with the moto, just click the link, bitch, and get buried like the rest. It ain't gonna work how you want it. These trolls already tried, too many come but don't leave. So if you here, you gotta die. I'm spitting straight facts. These bitches crying cause they hate that. The LDBC's the top topic, bitch, hate that. We the ones that bring the truth to these fans. So while you hate, I'ma laugh and keep counting these bands. Welcome to the graveyard. Click the link, get prepared to. Bury you alive, I'm prepared to. Welcome to the graveyard. You get your sources from clowns, so when you come around, we don't hear you. Welcome to the graveyard. Click the link if you dare to. Bury you alive, I'm prepared to. Welcome to the graveyard. You get your sources from clowns, so when you come around, we don't hear you.
Welcome to the graveyard.
Fighters like Monster Inoue, Roman Gonzalez, Juan Francisco Estrada, Bam Bam Rios, not Rios, but Bam Bam, not Bam Bam Rios, he's garbage. The new Bam Bam. Fighters like that in general. Why aren't they in like big ass world clamoring fights? Well, I'll tell you why. Because there's no black people around them. It's not a shade, it's not a knock, not a disrespect. There's no black people. And what I mean by black people, I'm talking about elite level black fighters. That is the reason why people are talking about Monster Inoue fighting Cool Boy. Because that will be Monster Inoue's biggest fight. That's why. This isn't a fucking myth. This isn't a fucking, no. Black fighters either beating them or just fighting them are the big name in the sport of boxing. Black fighters, elite level black fighters. That's not a discredit. It's not a shade. It's not a hate. It's not a nothing. Sergey Kovalev became the man by beating black fighters. He became the man by beating black fighters. That's how he became who he was. Nobody gave a fuck about the white guys that he beat. They cared about him beating Bernard Hopkins. They cared about him beating that other fucking Canadian dude, Post out. That's what they cared about. They cared about him fighting Andre Ward. That's what they cared about. They never pressed him to fight Golovkin. They pressed Ward when Ward said, "Yeah, Ward, yeah." They never pressed Kovalev to fight Golovkin. No. His most watched fights were against black people. Tyson Fury's most watched fights are against Deontay Wilder. Those are his most watched. Oh no, Vladimir Klitschko is Vladimir Klitschko. Nobody gave a fuck, bro. No one cared. They shitted on this man fighting Vladimir Klitschko. They disrespected this man fighting Vladimir Klitschko. Vladimir Klitschko fight was not as big as the Deontay Wilder trilogy at all. Wasn't even close. Wasn't even close. Nobody even gave a fuck about the rematch at all. No one cared. Vasyl Lomachenko, his fights with fucking white people, Krola, nobody gave a fuck, bro. They want him to fight Tank Davis. His fight with Teofimo Lopez was on free TV. He avoided Devin. Right now, they're trying to put Lomachenko and Devin Haney on a pay-per-view. That's the trilogy that he signed. Oh, Devin signed a 3-fight. Fight Bozo, rematch with Bozo, and then one fight on pay-per-view. Yeah, and that's supposed to be Lomachenko. Why are you fighting Lomachenko on pay-per-view? Why didn't you fight Tio on pay-per-view? I will say again, the reason is if there is an elite level black fighter, then that will make your pay-per-view. Winning or losing against an elite level black fighter will make your pay-per-view. Tank Davis just happens to be that elite level black fighter. He just happens to be that. It just is what it is. He is that elite level black fighter. Tank is that. He just happens to be on pay-per-view already. Arrow is that. He just happens to be on pay-per-view already. They make your fights. Deontay Wilder is that. They make your fights. Monster Inouye versus Cool Boy Steph will fuck around and be on a pay-per-view. It'll probably fucking co-main a pay-per-view. And if it doesn't, it'll be Monster Inouye's most watched fight of his career. If he has the cojones to fight this man. Just is what it is. It just is what it is. Gary Antoine Russell is in the same stance as an elite level black fighter. Gary Antoine Russell versus Regis Porgere is a fight that they will fuck around and put on pay-per-view. That's a big fucking fight. Jerron Boots Ennis versus Errol Spence or Terrence Crawford is a pay-per-view fight. Jerron Boots Ennis versus Jermell Charlo is a pay-per-view fight. Jermell Charlo is an elite level black fighter. Oh boy, he didn't fight Brian Castano, bro. Castano on pay-per-view wasn't up in pay-per-view. Yeah, because he wasn't elite. He wasn't as elite as the ones that I named. I didn't name Terrence Crawford. Jermell Charlo is not as elite as Errol Spence. He is not as elite as Tank Davis. Don't get it fucked up. Jermell Charlo can fight his fucking ass off. All right, he can fight his ass off. He says some weird ass shit, but they ain't got nothing to do with that motherfucking hands. That motherfucker's hands is, that motherfucker got hands. He got hands. But there's a difference between Mel and Errol Spence. There's a difference between Mel and Tank Davis. It just is, bro. It just is, right? The fighters that are going against Mel, people really don't believe they can beat him. Really don't believe they can beat him. So with Mel, he's going to have to fight somebody that people believe can actually beat him. You know what I'm saying? And then an elite level black guy that people believe can beat him, I can see that on pay-per-view. Definitely see it on pay-per-view. If Errol Spence ever fights Jermell Charlo, which more than likely won't ever happen, but if it did, pay-per-view. That's pay-per-view. More than likely won't never happen, but if it did, it's pay-per-view. If it did. The reason why you have fighters in different weight, like Canelo Alvarez, when he fought motherfucking all them white people at 168, those fights were not as big as they could have been. They were not as big as they could have been because none of them were elite black people. I'm willing to bet that Canelo Alvarez versus Jermall Charlo will be his highest grossing pay-per-view, not named Floyd Mayweather. I'm willing to bet that. I'm willing to bet that Jermall Charlo versus Canelo Alvarez will be his highest grossing pay-per-view, not named Floyd Mayweather. But he did $1 million with Bum Lofkin. He did $1 million with Bum Lofkin. Yeah, because in that scenario, the elite level black fighter was Canelo Alvarez. Yeah, in that scenario, Bum Lofkin was the guy that didn't have any pay-per-views. Matter of fact, he had one against David Lemieux, and it flopped. It failed. It did less than Terrence Crawford shit. Yeah, and they talk about, oh man, 50,000 pay-per-views, such a great thing. so great that he did this, man. So great that they never put him on again until he fought Canelo Alvarez. Yeah, because in that formula, with that formula, the elite level black fighter was Canelo for Bum Lofkin. So that was Bum Lofkin's highest pay-per-view. That was Bum Lofkin's biggest fight. Jermall Charlo will be Canelo Alvarez's. That's the difference. Where was Bum Lofkin? Canelo was Bum Lofkin's. Jermall Charlo will be Canelo's, not named Floyd. Oh, BF, I'll take that bet. Okay, well, bet it. He more likely will never fight him, so it really won't matter. Nobody's going to be collecting on it. What do you want to bet? What do you want to bet? Bet whatever you want. I'm not paying none of you bitch niggas anyway. So bet whatever you want. I don't give a fuck what you bet. Put $1 million in there. Oh, I bet you $1 million in the comments, BF. I don't give a fuck what you bet. Bet. It's a bet. Now let me be wrong and try to come and collect it. Let me be wrong. And now you come try and collect it and see how that works out for you. Let's see how much you get. Let's see. Anyways, and I'm standing on my square. I'm standing on my stance. Canelo Alvarez and Jermall Charlo will be Canelo Alvarez's biggest pay-per-view, not named Floyd Mayweather. I believe that because the formula says that. You are an other fighting an elite level black fighter. That is your biggest fight. Vasyl Lomachenko versus Devin Haney or Tank Davis will be his highest grossing fight of his career. I believe Vasyl versus Tank will be Vasyl Lomachenko's highest grossing fight of his career. But I believe if he don't fight Tank, his highest grossing fight will be Devin. And I also believe that Devin's highest grossing fight of his career will be Tank. I believe that too. Because Tank is the elite level black fighter. Not to say that Devin is an elite. That motherfucker is elite. Don't get it fucked up. But y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't need to explain this shit. You know what I'm talking about. Tank is the name. He's the elite level fighter. He's the name. So Devin versus the elite black fighter that Tank is will be Devin's biggest. That'll be his biggest fight. I believe that. That'll be his biggest fight. I believe all that. And I believe Lomachenko versus Tank will be Lomachenko's biggest fight. It'll also be Tank's. Both, don't get it fucked up. But it'll be also be Tank versus Devin will also be Tank's biggest fight too. Tank versus Loma will also be Tank's biggest fight. Oh, what about Tank versus Ryan? Man, fuck Ryan Garcia, man. And Oscar probably is fucking Ryan Garcia. Listen, bro, Tank is going to annihilate that man. He's going to annihilate Lomachenko too. The fight for Tank Davis is Devin Haney. That's the fight where it's up in the air. He's going to annihilate Lomachenko. He's going to annihilate Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia fights with his head straight up in the air. He's going to get launched into the rafters. Vasyl Lomachenko is 185 years old. That motherfucker's feet is stuck in mud, and he ain't Matrix anymore. That motherfucker ain't doing no moonwalking. That motherfucker is moonwalking on wet cement. He ain't all that dancing around and his feet, the speed, the footwork, the combination. He ain't doing none of that shit. None of that. Tank is going to annihilate this man badly. But whatever. Still his biggest payday. Terrence Bud Crawford versus Errol Spence is going to be Terrence Crawford's biggest bag of his career because that is the elite level black fighter that he is going to fight. Canelo Alvarez versus Errol Spence will be Canelo Alvarez's top 3. It might even surpass Charlo that I think about it. But it's damn sure top 3. That Canelo Alvarez versus Errol Spence, Jermall Charlo, and Floyd Mayweather will be his highest grossing fights of his career. Why? Because he's going against an elite level black fighter. That's why. That's why. David Benavidez versus Jermall Charlo. I'm telling you right now, David Benavidez versus Jermall Charlo is either top 1 or top 2 biggest fights of David Benavidez's career because he's going against an elite level black fighter. Just is what it is, man. There's no shade. There's no hate. There's no disrespect. But a fighter who is not black going against a fighter who is black that happens to be elite level, that is your biggest bag. Because for whatever reason y'all want to say, the world prefers to see an other beating a black guy. Y'all can try to spin this shit and twist it however the fuck you want, but the world prefers to see an other beating a black guy. That's what the world prefers to see. Y'all can act like there ain't no racism in boxing, like, oh man, ain't no racism. No, we just want to see the best fight the best. You're a fucking liar. You are a fucking liar. Because if you wanted to see the best versus the best, then you would have been pushing for Bum Lofkin to fight Billy Joe Saunders for undisputed. Not the guy Canelo who said he couldn't make the weight. Shh. Let's not talk about that. Let's hold that down. Not the guy moving up from 154, you know what I'm saying, from who fought at 47. Not that guy moving up. Because in that scenario, again, Canelo was the elite black guy in that scenario. Y'all want to see Golovkin humble Canelo. That's what y'all wanted. Oh, I want Golovkin to knock him out. I want Golovkin to humble him. That's what I want. Yeah, because in that scenario, Canelo was the black guy in that scenario. And you wanted the other to humble the elite level black guy. Well, why didn't you have if you want the best versus the best, you want undisputed and all this shit, then why didn't Billy Joe Saunders and Bum Lofkin fight each other for undisputed? If I'm wrong, if I'm wrong when I'm saying, no, it's not that BFTB, no, it's not that, then where is your press for Bum Lofkin to fight Billy Ho? Because Billy Ho was calling this man out, telling him I'll fight you in Kazakhstan. Let's fight for undisputed. You turned down undisputed and you fought Canelo Alvarez, the guy moving up from 154, the guy who said he can't make the weight and needs to fight at 155. That guy. The guy that fought just fought Miguel Cotto at fucking 156, 156 pounds. The guy that just knocked out motherfucking Amir Khan. That guy. You decided to fight that guy over Billy Ho and undisputed. Because the formula was correct. The other fighting an elite level black, or dare I say black or brown, I'll say that, an other fighting an elite level black or brown is your biggest fight of your career. Bum Lofkin has not been in a big fight since. Not one. Not one. Those were, Canelo Alvarez was his pay-per-view fights, and David Lemieux. A puncher in David Lemieux, a guy with like a 90-something% knockout ratio. You fought that guy on pay-per-view, and since he did not fit the formula, right? This is two punchers. David Lemieux, a fucking puncher versus a Golovkin, a guy who said he'll knock out everybody from 154 to 168, the Kazakh killer. You put those two together, and what did you get? 50,000 pay-per-view buys. That's what you got. You don't want to see the best fight the best, because that was at best fighting the best scenario. You don't want that. You didn't want Billy Joe Saunders and Bum Lofkin to fight for undisputed, so you don't want the best to fight the best. You wanted this other to humble this brown fighter. That's what you wanted. That's the formula that y'all use. That is the formula for all big fights. All of them. That's the formula. Every last one of them. That is the formula. Oh, what about Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis? Well, in that formula, Mike Tyson was looked at as the black guy and Lennox Lewis was looked at as the other. I didn't. I don't look at that. But look at the scenario. If you close your eyes, you have one of them, an educated black man, and Lennox Lewis, an Olympian. He's not cussing. He's not doing any of that stuff. And then on the other hand, you have a guy, you're children. Spinal, I'll fuck you like you love me. You have a thug on the other hand. You have a gentleman and a thug. The formula still remains. You have an other fighting an elite an elite level black guy makes for the biggest fights in boxing. And when you don't have that elite level black guy to fight, you just jump on ESPN's pound for pound rankings from beating nobody or fucking rematches. BFTB. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. And I'm out.